Peter Bergen is joining us now, our national security contributor. Peter, you've actually sat down and interviewed Osama bin Laden back in the 1980s, if I'm correct. Tell us what you think. The President of the United States saying they found bin Laden, they had actionable intelligence, they sent a team in, they found him, there was a firefight, and they killed him. They got the body, they confirmed beyond a shadow of a doubt this was bin Laden.
Well, obviously, this is one of the great intelligence successes the United States has ever engaged in. I met bin Laden, Wolf, as you know, in 1997. He celebrated his 54th birthday on February 15th. He was not an old man. The hunt had gone very cold. People I talked to in the U.S. intelligence agencies for years used phrases like, the trail has gone cold. We have hypotheses, but not actionable intelligence on bin Laden's location. Clearly, that changed rather rapidly in the last several weeks. It's interesting to me that he was found in Abbottabad, which, after all, is a not insignificant Pakistani city.
How far from Islamabad is that?
It's not far at all.
Are we talking like a suburb almost?
No, not a suburb, but it's in the it's relatively nearby. This is not in the Pakistani tribal regions.
It's not in a remote jungle, mountainous area. It's an area that's relatively close to the capital of Pakistan. Let's get a map up there and show our viewers what we're talking about, because the president specifically said bin Laden was found in this city. But go ahead. Have you been to this Abbottabad?
I haven't been to Abbottabad. Let's look at the map here. So
you see Islamabad there in the middle, and there's Abbottabad right there.
Right. Yeah, so, the informed hypothesis for a long time was that he was in the Pakistani tribal regions, which this area is not in, that he was in and around there. But interestingly, Wolf, if you go back and you look at the capture or kill of a lot of other senior members of al-Qaeda over time, many of them were Rawalpindi was where Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the operational commander.
Karachi, for that matter.
Karachi was where Ramzi
These are major urban areas. They were hiding not in some remote area, but in a city.
Well, they were until about 2004. Then they moved into the tribal regions, thinking that the cities were not safe. And then, of course, but in terms of bin Laden, there hasn't been really good information about him for so long.
And bin Laden is an unusual. He's a tall guy, much taller than most people in that part. So it's not as if he's someone who can just sort of blend into the countryside.
Well, he's one of the most recognizable people in history. Not only that, he's 6'4", very thin. He's recognizable relatively easily. It'll be interesting to see to what extent if somebody dropped a dime on him to pick up a cash reward. That's happened in the past. If it was more about...
There was a, $25 million reward for his capture or death.
That worked for Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the operational commander of 9/11. But in this case, it may have been anomalies about sort of too much movement in and out of this house.
Are you surprised that the president praised President Zardari of Pakistan for Pakistan's assistance, cooperation in the killing of bin Laden?
I'm not surprised, because this is the message that we should be giving and that we are giving, praising the civilian government of Pakistan, which is in charge nominally of the country, rather than praising the military. As you know, there's been 4 military dictatorships in Pakistan in the last 6.5 decades. That's not been good for the country overall. And so, the administration very correctly, at the end of the day, President Zardari is the head of state of the country, not the Pakistani military.
And President Zardari may have been close to the U.S., but others in Pakistan not. I want to show our viewers some video when you and Peter Arnett, you were in Afghanistan and interviewed bin Laden. Talk a little bit about this individual who is now confirmed by the President of the United States dead. There's a picture of you sitting next to bin Laden. This was in Afghanistan, right?
Yeah, this was in eastern Afghanistan near Jalalabad in 1997. Bin Laden carried himself like a cleric. I expected a sort of table-thumping revolutionary. He was very low-key. If you didn't know what he was talking about, he almost was like reading from the telephone book. He was so monotonous. But, of course, he was declaring war on the United States for the first time to a Western media organization. That was us at CNN. It was, of course, he wasn't very well known. Even within intelligence circles, his name was not well known in 1997. The embassy bombing attacks in East Africa hadn't happened yet. That was a year away. But he gave this interview to us, I think, Wolf, because they were planning those attacks, the first really major anti-American attacks that they conducted. They knew those attacks were in the pipeline. Bin Laden wanted to lay out publicly why he was going to attack the United States, what his beef was with the United States, which essentially was American foreign policy in the Middle East, which he laid out in some detail in the course of this interview, Wolf.
It's amazing to me that for whatever reason, we don't know how long bin Laden was hiding out in this mansion in this city of Abbottabad, not far from the Pakistani capital of Islamabad. It's amazing to me that for whatever reason, he made the decision this was the best place for him to be. Now, some will ask, did he need medical attention? Was he sick? Was he have kidney problems, dialysis? You've heard all of those reports.
I'm very skeptical about the kidney problems. If he had major kidney problem, dialysis, there's a lot of medical equipment that comes with that. Visits to the hospital, he would be dead by now. According to his son, he did suffer from kidney stones, which is a rather different problem than having a major, kind of catastrophic.
One thing to need dialysis, another thing to have kidney stones.
Right. So, the guy has had. When we met with him, he didn't seem to be in particularly good health. He's had some sort of chronic conditions, low blood pressure, but nothing of the extent that he didn't die of natural causes. We now know, of course, that he died in a firefight, which is the way I think that he wanted to go. The big question now is to what extent is he going to be a martyr in all this? That, of course, was his desire.
There will be al-Qaeda supporters who will seek revenge. There's no doubt about that.